Well, welcome to Council Preview. It is November 16th already. Steve, you can believe it. And like I said, I have Steve Barg, City Administrator, sitting next to me for our Council Preview.
Hard to believe that Thanksgiving is right on the doorstep, isn't it?
Yeah, I look forward to that.
It's a fun holiday. Yeah, I mean, it's a good time of year, and the lead into the holiday season behind that is always a good time.
Well, next week, 2 days before Thanksgiving, we have a council meeting we're going to talk about. And then the week right afterwards, on that Monday, we have a special council meeting. So let's start with the special council meeting on the 29th.
Yeah, that meeting will be on the 29th. It's a Monday at 5:30 p.m. at the council chambers. All are welcome, and we get a chance right at the beginning of the meeting. It's a public hearing to come to the podium and just tell what you think about the budget proposal. It's out there on the website at ci.marshfield.wi.us. You can look at it. You can see how we're planning to tax and spend in the coming year, and tax rate increase proposed of 2.5%. And just all the things that you want to know are in there in terms of how we're using your dollars. But come to the podium. I always say this, Tom, you don't need to have all the answers. If you think we ought to be spending some more money on roads or parks or whatever, just tell us that. You don't need to figure out where the revenue is going to come from. If you're looking at wanting to see a tax reduction, you don't need to know where the dollars are going to be taken from. But just tell us what you think of the proposal, and put your views out there for the council to hear.
All right, well, they'll have 5 minutes or so that night before council, and they can listen to any comments. They will not have any action at that time. Just so people understand that.
No, but later in the meeting they will. Here's what's going to happen to walk through the rest of the meeting. So then after that, the council will then do a discussion time where they'll take into account the things that they've heard from the public, and they'll take into account the things that maybe they themselves have thought about in the last couple of weeks since they put out a preliminary budget for a public hearing, and they'll decide at that time what changes they want to see. And they might say, look, we want to add $20,000 here, and we want to cut $20,000 there, and then the staff will have to turn around and make those changes for the final preparation of the tax bills next month.
All right, and you said tax bills next month already in December, so they would get their bills sometime probably that month for next year, right?
Yeah, typically the tax bills go out, Tom, in the middle of December, somewhere around the 15th or 16th is when people should get them, roughly a week before Christmas, and that's the time we shoot for. I know it doesn't seem like a great Christmas present. We always joke about should we wrap it up with a bow and a ribbon, but it's when the annual tax bills are sent out.
That's general for about most municipalities.
I think so. Yeah, it gives you time to pay if you want to pay in 2021 yet and get that recorded for your tax liability and your tax forms. That's great. Otherwise, you can make the first installment payment by January 31st.
All right, let's move right in to the 23rd's council agenda that you've prepared. Again, things can change. This is Tuesday, but let's talk about some of the things that are going to be in consent. Because we're doing this a bit earlier, we had to do that. Approve a resolution. What's that gonna be for council?
Well, we're looking at updating the annual fee schedule, and this was something that was started a few years ago. Actually, Jason Angel started it. He's a former development services director before Josh Miller. The idea of why don't we annually look at our fees, update them if we need to cover our costs. We sometimes check in to see what our neighboring communities around us are charging for different things, and we want to make sure that we know that the price that we're asking for certain types of licenses or applications really does cover the cost of those. If it doesn't cover the cost, Tom, then really all the citizens are paying for those types of things. So we look at all the other different areas. We send out notices to the various departments and say, look, by November, could you update what you'd like to see be the fees for these different permits, licenses, and other things, and then get that approved in a resolution so then the public can look online ultimately and see, oh, I need a building permit for a shed. Oh, this is what it costs. Oh, I need to apply for a bartender's license. Oh, this is what it costs. And kind of one-stop shopping for the type of fees that we charge.
All right. Well, that'll be moved to the council and find out what that's about. Scott Owen retiring later next month, right, or January, but we need an acting fire chief coming up.
Yeah, his official last day will be in early January, but his last working day will be in December. Scott Owens had an amazing career for the city. Has been a really strong part of our fire department for many years. He's been the fire chief for the last few years, and he is going to step aside now. And so we need to have an acting chief. So in other words, when they go through the hiring process, and I say they, I'm referring to the Fire and Police Commission, there'll be a time when there won't be a fire chief in place, per se. So we need somebody to call the shots. Somebody needs to be in control. Pete Fletty, one of the deputy chiefs, was the acting fire chief in 2020 when Scott Owen was on medical leave for 3 months, and he's a good candidate again to do that. So the proposal coming from Fire and Police Commission is to name Pete Fletty as the acting fire chief effective December 18th. That would be after the last working day of Scott Owen. And then, here we are. You talk about the importance of the Fire and Police Commission. They'll simultaneously, Tom, be going through a recruitment for both a police chief and a fire chief.
Number 7, this one surprised me when I received notice of it. Zoo manager position is open. Steve Burns is heading to a different career.
Yeah, Steve Burns started here the same year I did, 2011. He's been here almost 11 years now. Been our zoo manager, has done a wonderful job out there with Wildwood Zoo. He's got another opportunity that he's going to pursue, and we're going to miss him. I mean, think about what's happened at Wildwood Zoo in the time that Steve Burns has been there. The upgrades to the facility, the Kodiak bears. I mean, just so many things have transpired out there to make it even more of a first-rate facility than it used to be. But good people find new jobs. Good people have new opportunities, and they move on. That was the case with Ron. It's the case with Steve as well, and we wish them all the best. I'm guessing that, like with Ron Allman, it may take 3 months or so to find a replacement. We'll do it thoughtfully. We'll do it in a way that respects the importance of the position, but we're going to be looking again.
Yeah, a little tougher because not every municipality has a zoo, as I can think about. Very little. I mean, we're unique in Wisconsin for the size of zoo we have.
Yeah, I mean, you don't find many cities, we're roughly 20,000 population, and I don't think many cities of 20,000 population have zoos. You look at the zoos in Wisconsin, you're talking Madison, Milwaukee, and some of those kind of places. What a great amenity for the city, and again, Steve has taken us to places in the last 10 years that have been just amazing. Working with donors, of course, working with committees, working with Parks, Recreation, and Forestry. It's not been a one-man show, but he has a lot to reflect on from his time here of accomplishment.
All right, well, we wish him well as he moves on to another position outside of our city. Now, you have 2 pieces on here. I'll just combine them both. One is a revised communication specialist job description, send to evaluation. Communication director, which is me, send that job to evaluation, compensation, I should say. I don't want to say evaluation that I'm bad or something.
No, don't do that. Don't do that. Yeah, McGrath is our compensation consultant. They did the pay study back in 2018, and we pay them $150 a crack to take a look at some of these and give us their best shot when they see revisions. Does it move up a grade? Does it move up 2 grades? Does it stay where it was? But the main thing is, the communications department that you lead, Tom, is an important part of the city, and we need to have good quality people, so you need to pay them fairly. We're looking to replace David Bennett yet. Some of you probably remember that he was here for a couple of years and has moved on now. So we're looking, to come up with the right job description to get the right person, and the pay grade to be commensurate with what they do. I mean, if you get somebody and they don't stay because they're not being paid fairly, that's not good. And for your position as well, your position has added on some duties, more hopes and dreams for communication beyond the typical thing that people would think of in the past, cable TV and stuff. And we want to make sure that you're compensated fairly for your work and your successor someday as well. So we're looking for McGrath to weigh in, tell us what the pay grade should be, and then start the hiring process with the specialist, and then look at adjustments if necessary for your position.
All right, so that's all that's going to be in the consent. There's quite a few items in there. Let's talk and move down to our presentation of a strategic plan, economic development. That's different than the other strategic plan that was citywide. This is from Economic Development Director Josh Miller, or I should say Development Services Director. That's just another piece of what he does.
Yeah, this really came from the EDB, the Economic Development Board that he staffs. And I'm just going to kind of hold it up, even though you probably can't see it that closely. This is a 4-page document. Now, what you're looking at right now, Tom, is a draft. And the final version will be put up for the council at the meeting on Tuesday night. But this is what the Economic Development Board, working with Josh Miller, has come up with for some goals that they want to work on in the coming years. And again, like any good plan does, it addresses all the different areas. In this case, that would be housing, commercial, industrial, all the things that we need to do to make this a more vibrant economic community. And some of the things in there, again, I'm not looking at the final version, but talking about affordable housing, talking about business retention, getting more workforce to be available for our companies. There's a lot of need for good employees here. Land for future industrial development. It covers all these areas and really sets forth some strategies and objectives that we want to accomplish in terms of building the community up.
All right, let's move on down to a piece that I brought up, Facebook. I wanted to be able to put the meetings on Facebook after the meeting for another platform. But it has to go to council or something?
I think normally it probably wouldn't, but there was a lot of discussion back in the days when we walked away from Facebook Live. And just to let our viewers know if they haven't seen this before, Tom, but we were on Facebook Live and a lot of people liked that. But the problem was that using Facebook, we weren't able to block effectively the comments during the meeting. So the city attorney and members of the council said, wait a minute, so you have comments scrolling during the meeting, how does that go with the open meetings law? Is that distracting to the viewers and that kind of thing? So we pulled away from Facebook Live. But now you've told us, and I think it's good that you have, that Facebook has a lot of people who, it opens the door to more viewers. More people see our meetings if we have it on Facebook. So the thought that we put it on, but we don't do it, the comments aren't seen live. We upload the videos of the meetings after the meetings are adjourned is a good thing. And I think the reason that I'm bringing it to council, and I know that I've had a little contact with one of the council members, is because there was so much talk about it initially, and I think that we all want to make sure we're on the same page before we start hearing people say, we're on Facebook again? How did that happen? I thought we decided not to do that. No, this is very different. It's good for us. It's good for viewership. It's not the same concern that people raised about Facebook Live. It will not be on live, and when you see comments, if you're watching it later, that will all be after the fact and not real time, and that really was the issue.
Okay, well, we'll see if there's some discussion or changes or requests or something to that nature. Right now, we do provide that on our YouTube channel, like we always have. So if you're not Facebook, you can go to YouTube and other platforms. All right, where are we going here to? Council meeting date in December.
Yeah, we don't have this as a standing thing, but every year when we get into October or early November, we realize again, our annual realization, that the second council meeting in December would be very close to Christmas. And we have a committed council and a committed staff, but I think if you said, hey, do you want to come to a meeting on December 24th? It'd be fun. The answer is no. So really the second council meeting in December would normally be the 28th, between Christmas and New Year's, and we're recognizing that people don't want to do that. So we move it up a week to Tuesday, December 21st. Usually this meeting, Tom, being only 1 week away from the meeting on the 14th, doesn't have a lot of agenda items. And we normally try to hold that to just things that we need to get done. People have things to do, Christmas shopping and being with their families. So typically that meeting right before Christmas, that second meeting of December, is pretty housekeeping, insurance renewals, real time-sensitive things that need to get accomplished. You'll probably see a shorter agenda on that night, but business has to go on, and therefore we meet.
Okay, I won't entertain anything new. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. It'd be great to hit them on the 21st of December with, we're going to do a 2-hour presentation for you.
Yeah.
Sit back and relax.
No, I won't. Not going to happen.
I want to have my job continue.
Yeah, me too. So. One last piece, I think, on here. There's a few more. I've got to flip the page. Yep. Lyle Lang, this will be the second, I don't know if you say reading.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was introduced last time. I know we think of ordinance as their second readings, but Lyle Lang, now our third candidate for this position. We've been through a couple of little hiccups, but he is looking to be on the Fire and Police Commission. If he's appointed on Tuesday night, he will join the commission for their meeting in December. And like you and I already said, that means police chief recruitment, that means fire chief recruitment. He's going to have to get acclimated right away, but he's I think, a good candidate, and I think the council will likely approve him, although I haven't talked to council members about that. They have to make the decision on the best candidates for these important roles.
Okay, we do have a closed session item that you put on here. proposed renewal of fairgrounds management agreement with Central Wisconsin State Fair Board.
Yeah, oftentimes I don't mark closed session items for you and I to talk about because they're confidential. In this case, I want to touch on this because the city a couple of years ago entered into a contract with Central Wisconsin State Fair Board to manage the grounds. Until then, they used to call the Parks and Recreation Department and say, hey, you know, we got problems. The light bulb was out. Maybe that's a little oversimplified, and you know, the Parks and Recreation folks had to do a lot of the work, minor repairs, fixing any number of things in and around the buildings and grounds. Well, we said, why don't we just give you an amount of money that seems to be a fair amount based upon the amount we spend every year to take care of your things, and you take care of it. So Dale Christensen, the executive director, was fine with that, and so is their board. So every year we give them a certain amount of money, and they take care of these things, the minor things. If something needs to have a full roof replacement or some bigger project, we have to talk about how to fund those. But there's a couple minor things being changed this time, and so we're going into closed session to discuss them. Theoretically, the council might say, well, I don't like this one, but why don't you go back at them and reword it like this. But the heart of it is that we want people to know that we have a professional agreement with them to manage the grounds, to keep the thing up and make sure the buildings and grounds are being attended to, and that we're re-upping it for another period of time.
Sounds good. What else? Anything else? I think that's it.
I think that really wraps it up. And again, a reminder about the public hearing. We don't want to gloss over that, the 29th of November at 5:30. Certainly welcome to either come in person or to get your comments to us, to me in particular, if you'd like, by email, phone call, whatever.
Can you read those comments in? Is that
oh yeah,
how you do that?
Absolutely.
Oh.
We can read those. If somebody wants to write a letter or an email, we can read that if you ask us to. You don't need to be here. Some people are more shy than others, and we'll read it into the official record for them to consider.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll be back in December, and I thank everyone for watching Council Preview with me and Steve Barg. Thanks for tuning in.